This program is made possible by my patrons. Hit the link in the description below to become a member and receive exclusive ad-free perks.
Oh, hello everyone. So, a little bit of an unknown fact about me, I am a huge Thomas & Friends diecast collector. When it comes to what fans consider to be their favorite or the absolute best toy line of the Thomas franchise, there's Wooden Railway, Bachman, Ertl, Playrail, and Original Trackmaster. But for the longest time, even as a little kid, my favorite was Take Along, later revamped into Take and Play. You choose whatever to call this line. These were some of the most charming toys when it came to Thomas merch, as they were the most proportionate and detail accurate to their TV series counterparts. And they had a unique coupling system with magnets put front and back, allowing the engines to be coupled both ways rather than just one. First launched in 2002, nearly every character as well as every variant of every character has been made and produced in this range. It's not at all what it used to be, of course, especially since Mattel took over, and the diecast ranges have undergone a lot of changes over the last 12 years. But in spite of it, I never get tired of collecting this stuff. I've been collecting Thomas diecasts for as long as I can remember, and with the recent photos we've been getting of the new diecast engines for the 2026 reboot, now felt like as good a time as any to showcase its superior, my first love for Thomas merchandise, and showcase my entire Thomas & Friends diecast collection. And it's not just Take Along / Take and Play we'll be covering, we're also going to be looking at some Ertls, some Push-Alongs, some Trackmasters, and much more. Strap in, folks! First up, we got number one himself, Thomas, the Take and Play version from 2009, 2010 or so. I remember getting this guy a long time ago at my local Target. It came in a Steamworks set along with some flatbed cars and Kevin. 16 or so years later and it still held up pretty well. With him, as you can see, are his two faithful coaches, Annie and Clarabelle. I chose the classic take-along versions over Take and Play's revamps because I like the lighter orange and the classic facial expressions on these ones better. These two totally complete Thomas. And next up is my surprise Thomas, the take-along from 2002. So in 2023, when I decided to remake Hero of the Rails, I thought it would be neat to look for Thomas character variants with different expressions. You know, just to give the engines more emotion and not just blank happy faces. I love Thomas's face on this one, it's very accurate to his shocked expression in the show. This is actually a newer surprise Thomas I found on eBay recently. The older one I owned had bent wheels, so it didn't roll that well, and one of them was broken. It was a piece of crap to say the least, so I found one with better quality. Here's my Straining Thomas. This is probably my favorite variant of Thomas. The accuracy of his scrunched face and red cheeks is so good. Next is my Determined Thomas, or the one I usually use as my Annoyed or Angry Thomas. This came in a Hard at Work pack with Percy and some freight cars. Here's my Fireworks Thomas, which is basically a normal Thomas with firework decals on the side. It's a decent variant. I bought this one to use as a stunt double for my Sodor's Legend of the Lost Treasure remake. And here's my custom Corpse Thomas, inspired from the infamous Victor Tanzig episode Fallout, with Thomas as a burnt hunk of metal after being put in a long coma by a fuel tanker blowing up in his face. This was a pretty easy custom and I'm very happy with how it turned out. It's a pretty perfect likeness. Watch my video on how I made it. Here's the LBSC Thomas from the 2016 Adventures line. This is one of the few modern diecast toys that I actually don't mind. It's supposed to represent how he looked in The Adventure Begins, on his first day on Sodor, and this is a pretty solid likeness to it. And this is the 2025 Metal Collection version as part of the 80th anniversary line. I've said it before and I'll say it again. This is the best Thomas diecast we've gotten in a long time. Proportion and detail wise, it looks great. And I like the additions of the side rods. I especially love the face they gave Thomas. It's cool that it isn't just the standard happy expression. His eyes and right eyebrow are pointing upward. He looks very cheeky, as he should look. Here's a very special one. This is the Red Ruby Thomas, also released for the 80th anniversary of not just Thomas, but also of Mattel, the company that owns the Thomas brand. It also just so happened to be established in 1945. My aunt got me this guy for Christmas, and I think he looks great. The chrome color on the buffers, side rods, and whistle are nice touches. And the last Thomas in my collection is also for the 80th. Storybook Thomas. This is a special Railway Series style Thomas, an exclusive chase variant you can find in select case waves. The idea of this is so nice, and I think it turned out pretty solid. I wish they went a little further with it, mostly in regards to some details like the face and sides, but all in all, very happy to finally have him. Especially with the prices he goes for online. Like, seriously, what the frick is that price? Moving into the rest of the main characters, here's Edward. I remember buying Edward a long time ago too, I think possibly around 2011. He has to be one of my favorite diecasts from this line. There's something about his simplistic design and accurate wheel configuration that really makes him a huge standout. Next is Henry by Take and Play. This is another one I've owned for a long time too and has held up pretty well. Here's the Cross Henry from the Henry and the Elephant Take-Along set. Another one that looks super accurate to his expression in the TV show. And here's the 80th anniversary Henry. I got this guy in the Engine Celebration pack, which I bought off Amazon. He's still kind of my least favorite of this new line. I'm not a big fan of how small they made him. He's also missing his third wheel arch and second set of bogey wheels. It's still a decent diecast. Here's Gordon by Take and Play. Another one that has miraculously survived the last 15 years of me owning him. Another great diecast. Here's the Surprise Gordon from Take Along, which came in the Gordon Takes a Tumble set. Another neat face variant, though mine is missing his left eyebrow. Here's James by Take and Play. Another one I've owned for a long time. He has quite a bit of scratches on him. I played with him a lot as a kid, but he still managed to hold up fairly well. Next to him is the Buzzy Bee James by Take Along. Love the accuracy of the face on this one. He looks so traumatized. Here's the Squinty-Eyed James from the James and the Trouble with Tree set. This is my personal favorite James variant. It's so accurate, it looks just like his squinty-eyed face from the TV series. And here's the 80th anniversary James. Same story as Henry, he came in the same Engine Celebration pack. James is probably my third favorite of this new line. He looks very accurate to how he looks in the CGI series. You know, being oversized and whatnot. Not a fan of his golden side rods though. Here's Percy by Take and Play. Another good held-up diecast in the 16 years of owning him. Next to him is the Surprise Percy by Take Along. Another classic base variant. Here's my Tired Percy, also by Take Along. The toy is all covered up in coal dust, so I guess you could also call this my Dirty Percy.
Don't call me Dirty Percy!
And here's my Determined Percy. This is the same Percy I was talking about that came in the same Hard at Work pack as the Determined Thomas. And here's the 80th Anniversary Percy. This guy's my second favorite of the 80th Anniversary line, next to Thomas. Proportion-wise, it looks good, and I especially like how big his eyes are. They make him look so innocent. Here's Toby from Take and Play. This guy has seen better days with all the scratches he's gained from me owning him, but he still works pretty well. Kinda like the character himself. He may be old, but he's still really useful. With Toby as his coach, Henrietta, the Earl version I got from the Magic Toy Box's Vintage collection. Next up is the GOAT, Duck from Take and Play. I chose Take and Play over Take Along's version because it prefers black wheels, face, and GWR lettering more. The original version gave Duck these gray wheels for some reason. Here's a diecast you'd never expect from a guy like me. This is the All Engines Go version of Duck. I was pretty surprised that they actually made him in this range, and very early too. It makes sense now since he does appear in the series, albeit only for a few seconds, but still nice he was included. This is the only All Engines Go diecast that I was definitely excited for the most, simply because, you know, it's Duck, and he's awesome. Next we have the Scottish twins, Donald and Douglas. Both these diecasts have really good details. Nice shiny black paint and lining around the tenders and cabs. I do not like that they use the same face mold though. Here's Oliver from Take Along. I like this one a lot. All his details are picked out and I like the white buffers they added to him. Though, am I the only one who can't help but compare him to the CGI model of Oliver? I mean, look at him. Skinny funnel, thin dome, and tank engine size wheels. He also looks so much smaller. It's like Spencer's VIP all over again. Anyway, with Oliver is his brake van, Toad. A simple but very lovable item, much like the character himself. You can't have Oliver without Toad. These two are inseparable. Though Toad has proven to hold his own stories, but whatever. Here's Ertol's City of Truro. I got this guy from the Magic Toy Box, where the owner showed me his collection of vintage Thomas toys, mostly consisting of Ertl stuff. You cannot imagine the smile on my face that day. Super happy to own this guy. Here's the Big City engine from Take and Play. So around 2012, 2013 or so, Take and Play started making diecast toys of characters that existed in the Railway series and the early Model series. Notably D199, D261, and Big City Engine. And hey, I'm not complaining about that. The fact this guy was even made at all, despite appearing in a single story and illustration from the books, is pretty damn cool. Just as an aside, I always like to compare this guy to Reginald from Victor Tanzig's series. I mean, it makes sense. Both engines were part of the London, Midland, and Scottish Railway, so it's gotta check out. Here's Diesel by Take and Play. This is another neat piece. I somehow never owned Diesel as a kid. In fact, you may recall in my old videos, I used Dennis painted in black as Diesel. But now that I've sought out the actual Diesel diecast, I obviously don't need Dennis anymore. The OG looks really good. Here's Daisy by Take Along, another classic item. I love the makeup on her, looks exactly how she appeared in the original TV series. You know, all over extravagant. Here's Bill and Ben, the mischievous twin engines. Solid items, glad to own them. Here's Boko by Ertl. Take Along never made Boko for some reason, so I sought out Ertl's, and he looks really good. Surprisingly fair condition for being a 33-year-old diecast. Here's Diesel D199. Diesel D199 by Ertl, another item I bought from the Magic Toy Box. I chose Ertl's D199 over Take and Play's because I like the details and overall size of this one more. And also, yeah, that price is way too big. For one diecast? Really? Here's Mavis by Take and Play. Another nice item. What can I say? Here's Stepney by Take Along, another recent online purchase. This was a personal must-have. I've never owned Stepney for the longest time. I don't like how his boiler bands stop after his cab sides, but it's still a very good toy. Here's Wilbert the Forest Engine by Ertl from the Railway series book, Wilbert the Forest Engine. This is a pretty novel item, not only being based on the character in the book, but also based on the austerity tank engine named after the Reverend Wilbert Audrey. It's really cool that Ertl made this guy. Major keepsake. And here's 16, another character from that same book. This is an Earl diecast from the Magic Toy Box collection I also bought. I love the face on him, it looks just like that single illustration from the original book. As an aside, this is another character I compared to Victor Tanzig's version of 16, named Glenn. Here's Neil, also by Ertl. Low-key forgot I owned him, but hey, that's not a problem in regards to the toy itself. He is a bit scratched on his face and boiler, but still all around another classic item. Here's Ari and Bert, two other characters I managed to find online very recently. These two are pretty solid, I like their different expressions, but I don't get why one twin has chin stubbles and the other doesn't. Weird. And here's Diesel 10 without his claw. So, in 2020, Dork Me decided to burn off Diesel 10's claw Pinchy to make him look like Diesel 10 from Victor Tanzig series. Yes, I was very much an addicted fan of Victor Tanzig back then. So he looks like this. For completionist sakes, I'll probably grab a Diesel 10 with Pinchy intact and not burned and melted off. Here's Salty, the push-along revamp from 2019 or so. I never owned the original Take and Play Salty for some reason. So back in 2019, when I was in my local Target and saw him, I just went, yeah, this is lower quality than what it used to look like. I'm still gonna buy it. He looks alright. One of these days I'm definitely grabbing an OG Take and Play Salty of better quality. Or just buy the new 2026 version when it comes out. Here's Harvey, the 2013 Take and Play version. He's solid. I do wish it was more detailed though, like the original Take Along version, and not mostly just standard red. But at least he has a hook, unlike the original Take Along version, which just has a big magnet. Here's Emily, the 2019 Push Along. I actually owned a Take and Play Emily in the past, but somehow I lost her. Same story as Salty, when I found her at Target, I just decided to go for her. Even if looks-wise, she's worse than her original diecast form. Here's Arthur!
What a wonderful kind of day.
Another cool diecast. It's so neat having an LMS-styled steam locomotive in the lot. Just an all-around good looker. Here's Murdoch, another recent purchase. I dig this one too. He's nice and long and the face ain't half bad. Here's Spencer from Take and Play. I prefer the silver on this version to match his silver look in the TV series, as opposed to the original take-along version that just made him all white. This is another character I'd never owned for a long time. It was when I decided to remake Hero of the Rails, the movie that featured Spencer as the main antagonist, that I bought him. Definitely worth it. Here's Molly. I don't care for the character, but it felt wrong to not include her as a part of the line. Can you blame me? I'm a completionist. Give me a break. Next up is Neville. I wanted Neville simply because of his design and basis. He's just straight up a Southern Bully class locomotive, which for a Hit era character is super cool. I only wish the same could be said about the character. And here's another nobody, Dennis. I gave away my original Dennis to one of my younger cousins, thinking I didn't want him anymore. Obviously, that thought did not hold up, so I caved and bought a new one. He's pretty good. He's another character I don't give a crap about in the show, but the toy is pretty good. Here's Rocky. Not an engine, but he is a prominent character, so I had to include him. He's another very cool piece. While we're on the subject of Hit era characters, here's yet another one, Rosie. More specifically, the red version of Rosie from the push-along range. I actually really like Red Rosie more than Pink Rosie. The overall design and style makes her look so much more realistic, like an engine you'd see in real life, and not generic pink with white and red stripes. The toy itself looks fine. Can't wait for her new diecast though. Next up is Whiff. This is another solid piece, but not much else to say other than that.
Welcome, Stanley!
Stanley is another really neat piece, but again, not too much else to say about him. Here's Hiro. This guy's a very elegant piece. The black body and gold lining contrasted with the red wheels looks awesome on him. And being a Japanese engine, and having been to Japan 3 times in a row, it makes you love him all the more. For completionist sakes though, I'll definitely be grabbing the patchwork variant of Hiro, that features him in his colorful array of parts, one that isn't scratched and beaten up for remake purposes. Here's Charlie by Take and Play. I chose the earlier version over the more recent releases with the official CGI face because I like this one slightly more. Again, I don't like the character, but it felt wrong to not include him. Fitting too, considering, you know, recently. Here we have Belle. This is another one I've owned for a long time, I think back in 2011 or so. For a 15-year-old diecast, it's another that's held up well. And here's Paxton. Don't have too much to say about him either. He's another solid diecast. Next to him is Stafford. Again, bought him for completionist purposes despite not caring that much for the character. Now I can use him as a background shunter for my next Thomas remake video or something. And next up is Winston. This guy's a very unique character in the show, being a car you drive on the tracks. It's weird, but somehow not too out of the ordinary. I like the toy itself, and it's cool that he comes with a mini Sir Topham Hatt figure, even though it can't be removed. Here's Steven. This one's a real good looker. I love the accurate wheel configuration and the white crown funnel. It's just icing on the cake. Here's Connor and Caitlin, the Streamliners. They have a bit of wear on the sides. They came out that way when I bought them, but they're still really good. And here is Porter, the last normal take-and-play diecast before Mattel overhauled the merchandise lines in 2014 and made them look like
Piece of shit!
While there isn't much to say about Porter, he's pretty good. A solid end of an era. Here's Gator, another recent addition. He's a character I may or may not have bought for the purposes of my next Thomas movie remake or something. I don't know. What the hell am I saying? Detail-wise, he looks good, but like most of the characters in this newer range, I don't like how squished he is. In the TV show, Gator had a long, sloped body to make him look like an alligator, hence the name. But here, he's way too squished and also kinda small. But, whatever, still happy to have him. And here's Timothy.
Timothy!
He looks better than Gator, but again, not too much else to say. Here's Marion. I actually really like this one. I love her giant posable shovel arm, and thankfully it isn't too big for the character to sit upright. Here's Samson. Low-key forgot I owned him. He's not one of my favorite characters yet again, but diecast-wise, he looks fine. Here is Ryan. An okay piece, all things considered, but again, it suffers from its squished down proportions from the cab to the side tanks. Not a fan, but nice to just have him. Here's Skiff, another surprisingly good one from the newer range. It looks just like how he looks in the show, being a sailboat separate from its chassis. I put a Lego sailor figure on him because I thought it looked a little cooler. You may notice that Skiff's body is held together with a rubber band. When I was preparing for my Lost Treasure remake, I drilled the chassis off for the scenes where he's supposed to be on the water, just like in the movie. Here are the miniature Arlesdale engines, Rex, Mike, and Bert. These guys have become some of the rarest Thomas diecasts out there.
Holy shoot!
When I was looking for them on eBay, I bought them for $75, the cheapest price they went for online. Call it a foolish purchase if you will, I do not care. I'm just happy to own them. I like these guys as well. Their smaller size is accurate here, which admittedly doesn't really contrast well with those fat magnets. Here's Philip. Philip's one of the more controversial characters in Thomas. In my opinion, this silly little boxcar, as annoying as he may be at times, is lovable nonetheless. Once again, for the toy itself, I bought it for completionist purposes. This is the Adventures version with actual couplings rather than the fat magnets. I didn't like the scratches and fading on him at first, he came out this way when I bought him, but I actually kinda like it now. It makes him look a little more industrial. And next up is Hurricane. He looks fine, though I didn't like his basic black buffer beam. So a long time ago, I painted over it in red and colored the buffers in black with a permanent marker. And I think that added detail lifts him by a little bit. Here's Merlin. This was when Adventures got redesigned into Push Along. Merlin was re-released during that really dark era of the diecast lines when it turned into this abomination. Merlin, I feel, was translated into this new line okay enough. He's a long engine with big red wheels, so close enough. Next up, we get another custom. This is Peter, inspired from Victor Tanzig and Walter Wester's Peter in their respective series. This custom dates all the way back in 2019. I used the dog crap looking push-along Henry and spray painted the body in dark gray, and used paint pens for his red lining and number 15. And for a first-time custom, he looks pretty good, if I do say so myself, though I am thinking of redoing him. Here's another custom. This is Eric, made from the body of a push-along whiff. Same story as Peter. I spray painted the body in light green and used paint pens for the rest of his details. I also spray painted the face in silver and drew the eyes in acrylic white. Looking at it now, yeah, it definitely could be better. Maybe I'll make another video on me building these guys, just like I did with my custom Corpse Thomas. You want to see that? Because I'm kind of open to it. And here's Young Bao. I bought this guy at Target when he was still new in 2019, simply because I always wanted a Chinese engine. The show just so happened to introduce a Chinese engine, so I went for him. And the last standard gauge engine is Rebecca. Once again, this is a 2019 push-along I found at my local Target around 2019, 2020 or so, I do not remember. Again, don't like the character, but the toy itself is decent. At least she actually looks like a Sodor resident, you know? Moving into the narrow gauge engines, first up we got Duke. Probably one of the most accurate details to the original model. It's literally a direct copy of his 2004 photos. His laughing face, the lighter brown, everything's depicted. Next up is Skarloey by Take Along. This is another item I've owned for a long time too, and he holds up really well. And what's Skarloey without Rheneas? I do like this one, though the shade of red is kinda wrong. In the show, Rheneas had a vivid orangish red. I think the red they went for in regards to the toy is from the narrow gauge engine's first book in the Railway series, where all the characters had more of a pinkish red. It's decent, I suppose. Next is Sir Handel. I like the accurate wheel configuration on him, though his face kinda looks like Rheneas's a little bit. It kinda reminds me of when they used to showcase the engines with their name cards at the end of every episode, and they showed Sir Handel and Rheneas with their faces swapped. Weird. Here's Peter Sam. I love the accurate Giesel ejector funnel on him. Definitely prefer this to later versions of Peter Sam, where the funnel just looks more squished down. Here's Rusty. I like this one too. It's just a straightforward copy of the small scale version of Rusty. You can tell because of the faces. Here's Duncan. This is another good piece, though I don't really like the white wheels they gave him. This was a weird era for Take-Along in the early years. The fact that they would give certain engines that are supposed to have black wheels, white or light gray ones. Never liked how that looked, personally. Next up, we got Mighty Mac. Again, do not care for the character, but the concept is very unique, being based on a double-faced narrow gauge engine, which is a super neat design. The toy itself looks really good. And here we got Freddy. Solid piece. What can I say? He looks like Freddy. Nice to have him. Here's Victor. I never owned the Take and Play Victor for some reason. So same story as Salty and Emily. I found the 2019 push-along version of him at my local Target and just went ahead and bought him. I don't like the big wheels on him, but I don't know, on the whole it ain't horrible. I'll definitely be grabbing an original Take and Play Victor with much better detail and proportions soon. And here's Luke. Another narrow gauge engine I've owned for a long time as well. I always used him as my stand-in duck in my old videos, just like how I used Dennis for Diesel, before eventually finding the real duck online. Now I just use him as Luke, and he's another solid toy. And the final narrow gauge engine, and engine in general, is Millie. Once again, a solid piece, and as one of the last normal Take and Play diecast before 2014, it ain't too shabby. Now we'll get into the non-rail characters, mostly consisting of roadies and other non-faceless machines. Here's Birdie from Take and Play. You can't have a Thomas collection without Birdie, my friends. Here's Terrence, another item I found from the Magic Toy Box's Vintage Collection. This is probably my favorite Terrence diecast. Proportions are great, nothing looks squished or over-elongated, and he has his famous creepy-ass smiling face from the classic seasons. Very accurate. Here's Trevor, another from Ertl. I chose this one because I like the details and proportions better. Take and Play's Trevor I'm honestly not a fan of. His face is too big, his wheels are too small, and are just basic gray. It looks weird. Ertl's Trevor, on the other hand, looks great. He has big red wheels, a tall skinny funnel, and I like the expression more. This is one of few Ertl Trevors that's hard to find in fair condition nowadays. Other versions look very chipped up, so I'm happy to have this one. Next up is Harold. This is a Trackmaster hit toy item that came in a set with him and his airfield hanger. I only have Harold, unfortunately, but hey, he ain't too bad. I definitely prefer this over Take-Along's Harold. Size and proportion-wise, this one's better. Here's Bulgy by Ertl. Once again, I found him in the Magic Toy Box's Vintage Collection. Here's George, same story as Bulgy. I bought him from, say it with me now, the Magic Toy Box's Ertl Collection. And here are some horrid lorries from Take-Along. Not too much else to say on them, but happy to have them. And here's Cranky by Take-Along. Easily the biggest item in my collection, for a good reason, being he's supposed to be a giant crane. Love this one. Here's Kevin. He came in the Steamworks pack along with Thomas and some flatbed cars. He's another one I've owned for 15 years and has held up well. And here's Captain. Honestly forgot I even had him too. I bought him 2 years back for my King of the Railway remake during the Searching Everywhere song, and then completely forgot about him. Alright, it's pack time, baby! This is Jack, the 2014 Take and Play revamp. I bought him 2 years ago for my King of the Railway remake, since, you know, he played a brief role in that movie. Here's Alfie by Take-Along. I like this one too, his laughing expression is so accurate. But why does he have a back magnet though? Here's Oliver, the Excavator. This is another toy from Trackmaster that I went for over the Diecast Adventures version, because once again, I like the detail and proportions on this one a lot more. Adventures Oliver looks... what even is this? Why does he look so small? And lastly, Max and Monty by Take-Along. Two fun items it felt wrong to not have. You can't have the pack without Max and Monty. I went for Take-Alongs over Trackmaster. Their bodies just look more accurate to me. And that is my full collection. Rounding out all the engines, vehicles, and sentient rolling stock covered, we have a total of exactly 118 characters. This was probably one of my funnest videos to make. It was so neat taking everything out and showing everything off to all of you. Like any longtime toy collector, I am always adding to my fleet, so you can bet this won't be the last time you'll see it, depending on however many other characters I find. So if you want to see a part 2 of this video, please let me know down below in the comments. I mean, I still gotta find Fergus, Nia, maybe Pink Rosie, Flynn, D7101 if it somehow drops down in price, the other pack members like Kelly, Isabella, and Patrick, Concrete! And of course, everyone's favorite characters, the Logging Locos! Yay! Thank you very much for watching, and thank you so much for 4,000 subscribers. I'll see you all in the next one.